and a very warm welcome to this update on the Yarslow Model Railway. And as you can see, since you were last here, we've had something of a snowstorm in the Butterbump and Blowick Lane areas. The branch has now had a covering of textured ceiling polyfiller, and this is the result. The surface itself is quite hard, although certainly not smooth, but that's not a problem because it gives me a texture over which I'm going to put flock and eventually static grass. And this is the stuff I use. It's Polycell Textured Ceilings Coarse Effect. I've covered all of the areas, as you can see, including bits of the river. I've not covered the rocks. I'm going to use the natural surface texture of those. But you can see I've added some more of the blue foam at the bottom, covered that in filler and the Polycell coating to give what I think is now is a nice river course, and I will varnish after painting. The front fascia has been filled to lose all the screw holes with apertures for the point controls. And then the whole thing was painted with a mixture of brown emulsion paint, just cheap paint from the local DIY, a bit of PVA, and this is the result. So now we have a base colour on which to add our flock and our static grass right down on the sides. I've painted the rocks as well now. This is the base coat for the rocks. A bit shiny, because I think the paint was a silk finish, but that'll disappear. It's not the nicest colour in the world. I'm not sure I'd have that in my lounge, but it does the job. So I've then started to mock up some of the buildings here at Butterbump for row boxes, just to get a flavour for the ground. You can see I've added a raised ground up to rail level using balsa wood and filler, the various buildings that make up the factory. I think that's going to look quite nice along there. A bit more lovely brown colour in the foreground, as you can see. And at Blowick Lane I've added a road to match with the little platform. It's not going to be a level crossing, it'll just be an unoccupied crossing. Again, a bit of balsa wood and a bit of filler. It'll get painted a suitable colour and weathered in due course. And so out came the Woodland Scenics blended turf with one or two other colours, and although it's not dry, you can see the result. This is a base coat, so different colours of green all mixed together. Not everywhere covered, obviously. The vertical surfaces, especially around the river here, wouldn't be covered. You can see I have got a bit of hoovering to do before I move on. But this is the effect for a base coat that you want. Static grass will go over the top of this. It gives you a lovely start point. You can see around the overbridge here that you don't grass the rain cesses beside the bridge. And there are one or two areas I haven't quite sorted yet, like the position of the signal box. So out came the summer and autumn static grasses. And here are my two devices. One's homemade. This is the homemade one from a fly swatter. And this is the WWS version, which is very good. The WWS version is very good for long grasses because it has a very harsh mesh across the top. For fine meshes, my own with the very fine tea strainer does a better job. Bit of glue, bit of washing up liquid, of course, to break the surface tension, and a pipette for applying the glue, and of course a hoover to catch all of the stray grasses, and a box to put all of the collection stuff in. Now, static grass gets absolutely everywhere, and it's not the stuff you want everywhere, so clear everything out of the way and away we go. And this is what you get. This is the first pass. So you can see I've not covered everywhere. There's some blank patches, and I like this effect. This is Richard from Evereye Junction. Taught me how to do this from his videos. Worth watching. You can see under the platform here, I haven't put any static grass at all, because where the platform goes in, as you can see, it's really dark and dingy under there, and you wouldn't get grass to grow. So these are the sort of things you have to think about before you apply your static grass. But it's a lovely effect. Static grass is one of the major moves, I think, in advancements with scenery going forward. And it is rather uniform in colour, but there will be a second pass, and of course there'll be some work done on the exposed rock to break up the texture. And of course we've got ground cover and bushes and trees and all sorts of other things got to go in before we do much more. Now this is a very long morning's work. This is not the sort of thing that you want to rush. Take your time, do a little bit at a time, practice with your technique of static grassing. It's not the easiest thing to do. Some people make it look very easy. I don't find it easy. You have to be very careful, make sure you get your static grass upright, particularly on slopes. Otherwise it'll stick out at 90 degrees to the slope and it looks daft. Think about where your grass will grow and where it won't. And don't be afraid to leave bare patches. These bare patches on the front here and some of those at the back will be painted to look more like rocks. And of course you don't get a lot of grass under trees, so I've left a lot of areas blank under the trees. Done behind the platforms as well, and up here still some areas I've not decided around the signal box. Some blank areas where the signal is going to go, but all in all, a good job. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where the world came to a grinding stop about 10 days ago. I've had a cold and flu for a little while, as you can gather from my voice, and I tested positive just after I finished doing the recording of this video, and have been laid low for the last 10 days or so, which is why there's a huge gap between me recording it and actually getting it out on YouTube. The good news is that my period of isolation, which has been over the last 2 or 3 days or so, now that I'm up and about again, has yielded a lot of work in the shed, and so I've got some more video footage to put together and bring your way. But another delay. We've had a sort of year of delays on the channel this year, for which I apologise, but thank you for sticking with me. And I will bring you another update showing you all sorts of excitement in Trinity Square and Yarslow very soon. I know how it feels if you catch this dreaded lurgy, so I say with renewed energy, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.